सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। So in the last session, we have started this last broad topic of Vivekachoodamani, and that is mukti, liberation. Now we have seen so many verses, so from now onwards, we are not going to have revision of each verse. What did we see in the last session? All right. So we are talking about Jivan Mukta. First subtopic under Mukti is Jivan Mukti, liberation while living. And one of the important aspect of that Jivan Mukta, which Bhagavan Shankaracharya is pointing out right at the beginning, is the experience of bliss that the Jivan Mukta is having, which surpasses all kinds of enjoyment, and therefore how he is inexplicably happy or blissful. That is what is the crux of the entire thing that Shankaracharya is talking. He also explained what causes what and the cause-effect relationship. He explained vairāgasya, bodha, uparati, then atma anubhava, or that ananda anubhava, and shanti. That kind of causal chain also he explained, and then he also went on to explain the individual aspects in that causal chain. Right? Now the next topic that he has taken is how that Jivan Mukta is naturally withdrawn. Nivritti. That aspect also he has touched upon. Right? Which we had seen in the last session. That nivritti is the natural effect of vidya. Vidya phalam syat asatah nivrittihi. Right? That is the natural natural impact or natural result, and there is nothing shocking that a Jivan Mukta is naturally withdrawn. Why? Because avidya results in pravritti, vidya, self-knowledge, results in nivritti. That way he had clarified. Now we have to see verse number 425. What he does here in 425 is these three aspects in that cause-effect relationship. If we see vairāgasya, bodha, uparati, these are the causal aspects, so to say, and then the result is that ananda anubhava and shanti. So now what is the acme or the culmination or the highest point of vairāgasya, of bodha and of uparati? That is explained in verse number 425. Let us read the verse. 425. vāsanānudayo bhogye vairāgasya tadāvadhiḥ ahaṃbhāvodayābhāvah bodhasya paramāvadhiḥ līnavṛttairanutpattirmaryādoparatestu मर्यादोपरतेस्तु सा vāsanānudayo bhogye vairāgasya tadāvadhiḥ ahaṃbhāvodayābhāvah bodhasya paramāvadhiḥ līnavṛttairanutpattirmaryādoparatestu sa. So 3 lines he is explaining maryada or avadhi, culmination of vairāgya, bodha and uparati. That is what he is doing. Let us see one by one. vāsanānudayo bhogye. Bhogye, in the bhogya vastu, in the objects of pleasure, vāsanānudayo. Udayaha, rise. Anudayaha, no rise. So, not rising of vasanas in the objects of pleasure, bhogye, tadāvadhiḥ avadhihi. That is the culmination of vairāgya, dispassion, detachment. Vairāgasya parakāṣṭha. Where vairāgya can lead finally, what is the ultimate state of vairāgya? When there are objects in front of me, but still vasanas are not rising in my mind. See, I am away from the objects in a closed environment and therefore I am not getting tempted, is fine, is good for sadhaka. But the beauty of this Jivan Mukta is what? He is amidst the objects, but the vasanas are not rising. Look at how Shankaracharya ji, bhogye vāsanānudayo. In between the objects of pleasure, there is no rise of vasanas. We always want to have a situation where everything is protected, everything is nice, isn't it? Many times we study Vedanta and then we say that, Veji, this household activities and so trap. It's a trap, Veji. You get involved with that and then you can't get out of it and you feel so suffocated. No, it is suffocated because we feel that we should be somewhere else. We still feel that by changing the situation, by changing the place, things will be different. That is the mental change that is required in us. We always see the example of Arjuna also is given. He found himself in a situation which is unbelievably suffocating for him. And therefore he tells to Sri Krishna, I can't fight. I just can't do it. And what did Sri Krishna do? Okay, let us change the situation. No. He said, remain in that situation. Don't run away from it. You may feel that it's better for me to beg in the forest rather than fighting. You may feel like that. But what is in front of us, that is the way our progress will happen. By changing the situation, changing the place, things are not going to be different. See, it is our state of mind that we carry everywhere. We have earlier also so many times we have seen that with such a state of mind, even if we go to Himalayas, we will create samsara there. Because samsara is not at one place. Here itself, in Vivekachoodamani itself, right at the beginning, Shankaracharya had made one point clear that time and place are only secondary. 14th or 15th verse, around that if you see, you will see one verse where he says that adhikarinam āste. What is primary importance is adhikaritva, eligibility. Deshakaladhyaha santyasmin sahakarinah, that's what he says. Santi, these things matter, but only sahakari, they are only secondary important. So by changing the situation, changing the place, if we think that we will be in a better position, then that means we lack the eligibility within us. Now here we see for a Jivan Mukta, tadāvadhiḥ avadhiḥ. At that time, culmination of vairāgya happens when bhogye vāsanānudayo. Even amidst the pleasurable objects, vasanas do not rise. That's the brilliant thing. Okay. So, best dispassion. Mind is enchanted by something so great that it cannot be disenchanted by all these worldly pleasures. That is what has happened. He is not running away. See, yoga ratova, bhoga ratova, sanga ratova, sanga vihina. He is not, his state of mind is not dependent on the situation, on the surroundings. Yasya brahmani ramate chittam. His mind is completely immersed in that Brahman, and therefore nandati, nandati, nandati eva, from Bhajagovindam, isn't it? So that is what is explained here. Vāsanānudayo bhogye. That is the culmination of vairāgasya. Now what is the culmination of bodha, knowledge, self-knowledge? He says, ahaṃbhāvodayābhāvo. Abhava, absence. Udaya, rise. Absence of rise of ahaṃbhāva, I-ness. Ahaṃbhāva, ego. So the feeling of I, the sense of I in the not self is not rising. Bodhasya paramāvadhiḥ. That is the ultimate culmination of self-knowledge. That in BMI, in body, mind, intellect, in the upadhis, which are not self, the sense of I does not arise. Again, here you see the beauty of it. Self-knowledge is culminating in the experience, in the, what we say, in the application of that self-knowledge in life. It is not said that the self-knowledge, the paramāvadhiḥ, the final conclusion or culmination is what? That you see the self. That will happen anyways. That self-knowledge is translated into experience in such a way that ego does not arise. No more just intellectual understanding. Remember that story of Amtabai? Remember, who thought he is a rat? Intellectually understood, I am not a rat, I am not a rat. But still when he sees the cat, he thinks that maybe cat has not understood. Which means what? There is a slight feeling inside somewhere that he is still a rat. That slight feeling that I am still jiva also is not there. That is the culmination of self-knowledge. So knowledge has become so effortless that the ego does not arise. That is the culmination of bodha. And then līnavṛttairanutpattirmaryādoparatestu. Beautiful phrase. Anutpatti. See, now here if you have seen in all the three lines, he is talking about not rising. See, vāsanānudayo, na udaya. Then next one he said ahaṃbhāvodayābhāvo, absence of rise. Now here also he says anutpattihi, not rising of līnavṛtti. Līnavṛttairanutpattihi means what? The thought that has merged in that Brahman is not rising again to think about anything else. The thought that has merged in Brahman does not rise again. Līnavṛttairanutpattihi maryāda uparatehe tu sa. Sa maryāda. That is the culmination. Culmination of what? Uparatehe, of uparati. Uparati here we had seen. What is the meaning of uparati here? Withdrawal means not the uparati of sadhana chatuštaya, not vairāgasya of sadhana chatuštaya we are talking about, right? So uparati, what is the highest culmination, acme of uparati? And that is that the mind that has merged in Brahman doesn't rise again. Means what? Mind has ended. The ripples have been quietened. Mind has merged with Brahman, Brahman alone is there. It doesn't again take its hood back and say, I am the mind. No, it doesn't do that. So, līnavṛttairanutpattihi. That is the culmination. In other words, we are talking about the seventh bhumika. That the jnani is totally merged, never comes back to the world, never comes out of samadhi. Even when tried by other people, he does not come back. So, culmination of vairāgasya is non-rising or not rising or non-germination of vasanas in the objects of pleasure. Culmination of bodha is not rising of I-ness, identification, ego in the BMI, in the not self. And culmination of uparati is not rising of mind from that highest state of Brahman. Right? This is what is the state of Jivan Mukti. If the explanation of Brahman is difficult, explanation of Jivan Mukta is even more difficult. And if you say that explanation of Brahman is impossible, then explanation of Jivan Mukta is even more impossible. Why? Because when we are explaining about Brahman, we clearly speak about paramarthika satya alone, which is sometimes easy to explain because you say that everything that you say is in vyavarika satta, doesn't apply for paramarthika satta. Brahman is totally away from it. Explanation over. But explanation of Jivan Mukta cannot just remain in paramarthika satta. Why? Because we ajnanis are looking at that Jivan Mukta from vyavarika satta. So the explanation is given in such a way where we are told that the Jivan Mukta is in paramarthika satta when looked from vyavarika satta. And therefore the explanation becomes even more difficult. And that is why the explanation is necessary. It will at least give us an idea of what it is, and it will give us the pointer for what we need to find, what we need to follow. Right? Now, he continues further. Jivan Mukti Lakshana is the topic that goes on from now next verse up to 442. Continuously, one after another, he will say Sajivan Muktaha Ishyate, Etad Jivan Mukti Lakshanam, etc. etc. He will continue that. Before he enters into that entire thing, he first gives overarching explanation, a graphical representation of Jivan Mukta in the next verse. Of course, the longer meter he has to bring in. 426. Brahmākāratayā sadā sthitatayā nirmuktabāhyārthadhīr anyāveditabhogyabhogakalano nidrāluvadbālavat svapnālokitalokavajjagadidaṃ paśyan kvacillabdhadhīr āste kaścidanantapuṇyaphalabhugdhanyaḥ mānyo bhuvi brahmakāratayā sadā sthitatayā nirmuktabāhyārthadhīr anyāveditabhogyabhogakalano nidrāluvadbālavat svapnālokitalokavajjagadidaṃ paśyan kvacillabdhadhīr āste kaścidanantapuṇyaphalabhugdhanyaḥ mānyo bhuvi. Beautiful. What he says? Brahmakāratayā sadā sthitatayā. Third case, Tritiya Vibhakti to show the cause. Brahmākāratayā, by being of the form of Brahman. Sadā sthitatayā, by being always abiding in that. So through the constant abidance of being Brahman, Brahmākāratayā sadā sthitatayā, because of this, through this, nirmuktabāhyārthadhīr. We are talking about a person. Dhi is intellect. bāhyāർത്ഥadhīḥ nirmukta. Bāhya, outside. Artha, objects. Nirmukta, totally freed. What do we mean? Whose mind, dhi, is nirmukta, totally freed from the outer objects, bāhyārtha. Nirmuktabāhyārthadhīr. Understand the difference. Even for a seeker, there is a possibility that he is not interested in the world. So, nirmuktabāhyārthadhīr, nirmukta is not possible, but muktabāhyārthadhīr is possible even for the seeker. That his mind is not preoccupied with the sense objects. But the cause for that is what? That the seeker has understood the limitations of sense objects. We say, no, why we don't get involved with the things of the world? Because the pleasures are perishable. They are going to have ending. They are completely wrapped up in sorrow. So though they appear to be like a joy, but they are actually sorrow. Correct? And that is not going to give me the permanent happiness. These are the reasons why we are away from the outer objects. Now here for the Jivan Mukta, the reason for him being totally free from the thought of the worldly objects is brahmākāratayā sadā sthitatayā. See the cause. Because he is always abiding in Brahman, his mind is totally freed from the outer objects. See the difference between seeker also may have this, but that will be because the seeker has understood the limitation of objects. Whereas the Jivan Mukta is not away from objects because he has understood that the objects are perishable. He is away from the objects because he is merged with something much, much higher. So, brahmākāratayā sadā sthitatayā nirmuktabāhyārthadhīr. Okay, then what? That is the first phrase. Then next one, very interesting. anyāveditabhogyabhogakalano. Kalana, kala dhatu in Sanskrit can be used to mean anything. Okay. Here kala means enjoying. Bhogye bhogakalano. He is enjoying the bhogas, the enjoyments of bhogye vastu, of the outside objects. Veji, what? Just now in the last verse you said that bhogye vāsanānudayo. Are just now you said that the vasanas are not right. Yes, correct. Read the complete word. Anyāvedita. When somebody else is offering, you may see him enjoying the objects. Anyana, avedita. Avedita means nivedita. He has offered something, you may see him enjoying those objects. anyāveditabhogyabhogakalano. One who is seemingly enjoying the objects when offered by others. Seemingly, not actually. But how is he actually? nidrāluvadbālavat. Nidrāluvat, like a sleepy person. Nidralu means one who likes sleep or one who is almost gone to sleep. Somehow something is keeping him awake. How that person is totally, how we say, unaware of the world. Isn't it? Many times it happens to us also. Sometimes it happens in the class also. That you're listening and then Atma Anubhava, there itself happens. Then somebody in the house moves something and then you get up and then you understand. That is why. How we are unaware of the... So, nidralu, okay. Nidralu means a sleepy person, not a sleeping person. Because sleeping person is totally unaware of the world of objects. This nidralu appears to be in the world, appears to be awake, but is not awake. Sometimes you are talking to somebody and that person is sleeping, no? That person may continue to respond to your speech. No? They may continue to respond, but that person is not listening. Why? Gone. Nidralu is too sleepy. Then what we say? Okay, enough. Go sleep. Why? There is no point in talking. That is how this Jivan Mukta is. Nidrāluvat, like a sleepy person. Means what? He is available, but not available. Appears to be available, not available. This is what is explained in Gita, that ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati sanyami. Yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha paśyato munihi. What the whole world is awake to, he is sleeping to that. Second line. He is sleeping to that means he doesn't even know all these things what are happening. So in that state, he may be enjoying the objects when they are offered by other people. Don't immediately jump on conclusion that he is actually enjoying it. No. He seemingly enjoys. Or, second example, bālavat. Child, like a child. Not childish, but childlike. Childlike means what? There is a kind of innocence. There is a kind of, how do we say, totally being in the present. That's the beauty of children, if you must have seen, no? See, for very small children, you actually don't need to give them anything to become happy. They're just happy for no reason. Have you seen that? They just run and they become happy. We need so many things for us to become happy. They are just happy. And if there are more than one kid there are 2-3 kids, they just look at each other and they start laughing. There is no reason. They are not thinking about what happened in the morning, what is going to be there in the evening, nothing. They are just totally unaware of all these things. Like that innocent happiness, there is this innocent happiness in this Jivan Mukta also. nidrāluvadbālavat. Then what? svapnālokitalokavajjagadidaṃ idam jagat. For him, idam jagat, this world is lokavat, is like the world svapnālokita, which was seen in the dream. See how beautiful. It's just, Shankaracharya is just so brilliant. The ideas are of course beautiful, but you look at the words that he is choosing. Swapna alokita. Alokita means seen. Alochana means seeing. Alokita lokavat. See that he has done that loka also, but it's not in the same meaning. Alokita lokavat. Like the world lokavat. Alokita, seen, swapna, in the dream. Idam jagat. This world also for Jivan Mukta is like the world seen in the dream. Paśyan. Idam jagat paśyan. Seeing this world like the dream world. kvacillabdhadhīr. What an explanation. Kvacit means sometimes. Labdhadhīr, he becomes aware. Sometimes he becomes aware of the world which is like a dream world for him. Otherwise, rest of the times, nidrāluvadbālavat anyāveditabhogyabhogakalano. Sometimes in between, suddenly he becomes aware of, oh, this is the world that is going on. Okay, it's like a dream world. Now, āste. He remains. Kaśchit. Āste kaśchit. Some rare person. We are talking about the Jivan Mukta who is absolutely rare. Right? Āste kaśchit anantapuṇyaphalabhugdhanyaḥ. Wow. What is said here? Bhuk means enjoyer. Enjoyer of phala result. Result of punya merits. Ananta, infinite. So the enjoyer of results of infinite merits. Means what? At one time, one moment, he is enjoying everything. Āste remains. Kaśchit, such a rare person. anantapuṇyaphalabhugdhanyaḥ. Dhanyas samanyo bhuvi. Saha, such a person, bhuvi, in the world, on the earth, dhanya, blessed. Mānyo, most revered. Such a person is the blessed person on the earth and is most revered. See, what kind of explanation is this? Aha, beautiful. Anantapuṇyaphalabhugdhanyaḥ. See, we see in Tattvabodha also, where the knowledge is given. I should remember. Brahmavida apnoti param tadeshabhyuktha satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman so oshnute sarvan kamaan saha. See, that comes there. Second section of the Taittiriya Upanishad begins with Brahmavid apnoti param. The knower of Brahman attains the supreme. Tadeshabhyukta, about that this is said. Satyam jnanam anantam brahma, the most famous line from the Upanishad. That Brahman is existence, consciousness, infinite bliss. And the knower of Brahman realizes this Brahman in one's own heart. And what is the result? So ashnute sarvan kamansa. He as though enjoys everything at once. Sarvan kaman sa ashnute. One meaning of that phrase is like that. There is another meaning when we study Taittiriya, we will see. But the point is what? Anantapuṇyaphalabhugdhanyaḥ is the enjoyer of the results of infinite merits, of all the past merits. Everything is fructified. See, please don't put a counting on all these things. This is not a quantitative analysis. This is a qualitative analysis. We need to understand this. Let me give example and you will understand what I am saying. Suppose in sports there is a team which is working for a goal. Let us say World Cup is coming or some important tournament or Olympics is coming or whatever. Now they put all their efforts for such a long time. Right? They live a disciplined life. Their food is measured, their exercise is measured, their travel is measured, everything is so disciplined and perfect, and everything for what? For that trophy, for that medal. Now when they reach there, when they get it, what is the feeling? That all the efforts that we have put to reach here, now we have got the result of it. Now, we can't say that, okay, so the happiness, don't put mathematical equation. Happiness in the mind of that winner is equal to. You can't put a quantitative analysis like that there. That from the first ball to last ball, what was the joy content, and then last match, what was the joy. No, qualitatively you see. For what the whole effort was put, they have reached there. In the same way, this jnani, before becoming jnani, was putting efforts for realization in so many births. As a result of all those efforts, the culmination is this state. And that's why it is said, Anantapuṇyaphalabhugdhanyaḥ. That's why the word Shankaracharya is using is Ananta, infinite. He is not putting a count to it. He is saying infinite merits have fructified at that moment. That is what happens. Saha dhanyah. There is another beautiful composition of Shankaracharya, Dhanyashtakam. Very, very beautifully he explained. Te dhanya bhuvi paramarthanishchiteha sheshastu brahmanilaye paribhramantaha. He says, Te dhanyaha bhuvi. Those people are indeed blessed. Paramartha nishchiteha. Those who have established themselves into that paramartha, into that supreme Brahman. Sheshaha tu brahmanilaye paribhramantaha. All other people are just roaming around in the samsara. Te dhanyaha bhuvi. These people are indeed blessed ones. So here we see that the description is of the sixth bhumika jnani. isn't it? Mostly he remains in samadhi, and therefore mostly he is unaware. Kvacillabdhadhīḥ, sometimes in between, because somebody else has woken that jnani up, or because of his own prarabdha of his body and mind wakes him up. Fifth stage, fifth bhumika is he himself comes out. How? Because of prarabdha only. Prarabdha of the body and mind pulls him out. So either because of prarabdha, because of Ishvarecha you say, or because of somebody else's something, anyāveditabhogyabhogakalano, he comes out. But even then, when he comes out, the whole world appears like a dream. Svapnālokitalokavajjagadidaṃ. And therefore, it appears, it seems that he is enjoying the world, but actually he is far away from it. Why? Because he is always established in that state of Brahman. Two examples are given. Nidrāluvadbālavat. Beautiful examples. How a sleepy person is unaware of the world, perceives it like a dream only, everything is vague. We say also sometimes, I don't remember what happened at that time because I was very sleepy. I don't remember. Or Balavat, we are not there available. No, somebody very interestingly said, nidrāluvadbālavat. You take it as one example. What is that? A sleepy baby. How that sleepy baby is, that kid who is sleeping, you must have seen, the mother has to wake the child up for eating. Can you believe that? The child is unaware of even food. When the children are born, initially few months they sleep a lot. And mother feels that, why is he sleeping all the time? He's not eaten anything. So mother wakes the child up and then feeds something. Then again the child sleeps. Mother becomes very restless. But then once that phase is gone, then the mother waits when this fellow is going to sleep. Why is he not sleeping? All the time awake. When I want to sleep, he is not sleeping. Later on, whatever may happen, but initially you must have seen that nidrāluvadbālavat is like a sleeping baby, where somebody else has to wake that baby up and say that it is time for eat, drink milk or something. Like that, this Jivan Mukta is. Leave it to him, he will remain in samadhi. He will not come out. Somebody else has to come. They say about Ramakrishna Paramahamsa also, no? Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to go in that samadhi and that sevaka used to put rasgulla in his mouth to bring him back, to bring him out of samadhi. Imagine what kind of state they all must be. Here for 1 minute, if we go to that samadhi state, we are lucky and happy. And that is the state where they always remain in that. That is how these Jivan Muktas are. Okay. So beautiful explanation. So many points are put in one. That is why these verses in Vivekachoodamani, which are of longer meter, are beautiful for that purpose, because there are so many points. Sometimes they are also called as Vastu Sangraha Vakya, because all the points that are going to be explained are in seed form explained in this verse. So he has said so many things. You see here, first he has said nirmuktabāhyārthadhīr. It's totally freed from the outer objects. So there is total nivritti. And what is the cause of nivritti? Brahmakāratayā sadā sthitatayā. Because he is ever established, ever abiding in the Brahman. Then next point he said, anyāveditabhogyabhogakalano. That Jivan Mukta appears to be enjoying the objects when offered by other people, not on his own. And that also seeming. Then two examples are given, nidrāluvadbālavat, like a sleepy person or like a child. Now even when kvacillabdhadhīr, when in between sometimes he becomes aware of the world, how does he see? Idam jagat svapnālokitalokavajjagadidaṃ paśyan. He sees this world like the world which was seen in the dream. Such a person, such a Jivan Mukta, āste. What a verb. Aste means he remains. No other verb is possible. He becomes, goes, eats. Nothing, no other action can be attributed to him. He just remains. Āste kaschit, such a rare person, anantapuṇyaphalabhug, enjoyer of results of infinite merits, sah bhuvi dhanyah mānyascha. Such a person is blessed on the earth in this world, mānyacha, and he is the most revered. Mānyah, respectful. That is what this person is. So you see, so many points are explained there. Now, Shankaracharya goes to the next topic. What? Let us read the verse, we will understand. 427. Sthitaprajño yatirayaṃ. Yatirayaṃ. Sthitaprajño yatirayaṃ. Yas sadānandamaśnute. Brahmaṇyeva vilīnātmā. Nirvikāro vinishkriyah. Sthitaprajño yatirayaṃ. Yas sadānandamaśnute. Brahmaṇyeva vilīnātmā. Nirvikāro vinishkriyah. Now pointers for next few verses he is giving here. Sthitaprajñah ayam yatihi. Ayam yatihi, this sannyasi, this jivan mukta, sthitaprajñah. Sthitaprajña means one whose prajña is sthita. Prajña means knowledge. Sthita means fixed. A person of steady wisdom. Means what? Person who has realized Brahman and made that self-knowledge a reality. Explained in second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Sthitatapajño. Sthitatapajñasya ka bhāṣā, samadhisthasya keshava, sthitadhiḥ kim prabhāṣeta, kim āsīta, vrajeta kim. Arjuna asks different questions about this Sthitaprajña, and Bhagavan answers, Prajahati yada kama, sarvan parthmanugatan. Last time also we were seeing, Atmanyevatmana tushtaha, Sthitaprajñas tada uchyate. Such a person at that time is called as Sthitaprajña, one who is reveling within oneself. Atmani, Atmana tushta, is content by the self, in the self. Such a person, Sthitaprajñah ayam yatihi, yaha, one who sadānandamaśnute. One who attains, gains everlasting bliss, sadānandam. Brahmaṇyeva vilīnātmā. Atma here means mind. One whose mind is vilīna, dissolved. Brahmaṇyeva, in Brahman alone. Brahmaṇyeva vilīnātmā. One whose mind is dissolved in that Brahman alone. Nirvikārah. Without any modifications. Vinishkriyah, without any activities. So this yati, this jivan mukta who experiences or who gains everlasting bliss is sthitaprajña, brahmani vilīna, nirvikāra and vinishkriya. Okay, so you see, so many pointers are given now. He is sthitaprajña, will be explained in the next verse. Sadānandamaśnute, attains the everlasting bliss, explained in the next verse, 429. So 428, sthitaprajña. 429, sadānandamaśnute. Brahmaṇyeva vilīnātmā, how that person is immersed in or dissolved in Brahman, 430. And then nirvikārah is explained in the next 12 verses, 431 to 442. Vinishkriyah he is not explaining, because that is the result of everything. Nothing to discuss what is there. Already it is explained Vinishkriya. Anyway, why will he act? Why will he get into pravritti at all? So now, who is a sthitaprajña? Now that sthitaprajña is explained in the next verse. Let us read. 428. Brahmātmano shodhitayoho ekabhāvāvagāhini nirvikalpa cha chinmatra वृत्तिः प्रज्ञेति कथ्यते सुस्थिता सा भवेद्यस्य स्थितप्रज्ञः स उच्यते ब्रह्मात्मनो शोधितयोः एकभावावगाहिनी निर्विकल्पा च चिन्मात्रा वृत्तिः प्रज्ञेति कथ्यते सुस्थिता सा भवेद्यस्य स्थितप्रज्ञः स उच्यते. Ideally, when we are studying Vivekachoodamani, we should not be seeing references from Gita, because Bhagavad Gita is supposed to be studied after Prakarana Granthas. But since we have studied Bhagavad Gita, therefore we are pulling the topics here. But ideally what happens, here the clarification is there, and then when we go to the original text, the Prasthanatraya, we understand the meaning. Sthitaprajño word is going to come in Bhagavad Gita, but it is not going to be defined there. Sthitaprajño. What do you mean by prajna? What do you mean by sthitaprajño? That is defined here. That is why Prakarana Granthas are to be studied. So the technical words which will be used in the Shastra Granthas, in the Prasthanatraya, are explained already in Prakarana Grantha. So you see, sthitaprajña, word to word explanation is here. Two aspects are there. Sthita prajña. What is prajña? Prajña can mean intelligence, prajña can mean knowledge. What prajña are we talking about? Defines in first line. First and second line, if you see. Vrittihi prajña iti katyate. A thought is called as prajña. What kind of thought? First line. Brahmātmanoho shodhitayoho ekabhava avagahini vritti. Ekabhava avagahini. Avagahini, that which captures. Ekabhava, oneness. That which captures the oneness, Brahmātmanoho, of Brahman and Atman. Shodhitayoho, which are inquired into, which are purified, which are unveiled. Brahmātmanoho shodhitayoho, dvivachan. Ekabhava avagahini. Vrittihi prajña iti katyate. That thought is called as prajña, the thought which captures the oneness between the Brahman and Atman, which are purified or which are inquired into. In other words, brahmākāra vritti or brahmākāra vasana, that subtlest kind of thought that captures the oneness of Brahman and Atman, that is called as prajña. And how is that? Nirvikalpa. There is no other thought. Nirvikalpa means there is no vikalpa. There is no distinction. There is nothing other than that brahmākāra vritti in that thought. And that's why I said brahmākāra vasana also you can take. It has become so subtle and so strong and powerful that there is nothing other than that in it. Nirvikalpa cha chinmatra. It is just consciousness. Chinmatra. It's knowledge alone, K capital. Consciousness alone. That kind of vritti is called prajña. In other words, it is that brahmākāra vritti which has merged in Brahman, where no more it can be just called as vritti. And to say that, the word Shankaracharya has used is chinmatra. You call it a vritti is fine, but the adjective to that vritti is given is chinmatra. It is consciousness alone. You can't even classify it as a thought. But that is called as prajña. So the thought that captures the oneness of the revealed Brahman and Atman, which is beyond all kinds of options or other kinds of thoughts, and which is just consciousness alone, that is called as prajña. Now, susthita sa bhaved yasya, for whom sa, that, she, sa means she, sa, who, sa, ka, prajña, sa prajña, that prajña, susthita bhaved, is well established, steady, for whom this knowledge of oneness of Brahman and Atman is steady. Steady means unwavering, not like a pendulum in our mind that sometimes we know we are Brahman, but very next moment we are brought down to the level of Jiva. Sometimes even below the level of Jiva, we start identifying as animals also sometimes. So not like that. Susthita sa bhavedyasya saha sthitāprajño uchyate. Such a person is called as sthitaprajño, a person of steady wisdom, W capital. See, definition is giving what is prajña, who is a sthitāprajño. So prajña is a thought, and what a beautiful way of explaining. Ekabhava avagahini vritti. Ekabhava, oneness. Avagahini, that which captures. Vritti, thought. The thought that captures the oneness. Oneness of what? Brahmatmanoho. Oneness of Brahman and Atman. Shodhitayoho. Which you were searching, which you were purifying, for which you started. That Brahman and Atman, the thought that has captured the oneness. That nirvikalpa, without any other thought. Chinmatra, just consciousness. That vritti is prajña. For whom this prajña has become sthita, susthita. For whom this wisdom, knowledge has become steady. That person is called as sthitaprajño. Okay. Now this sthitaprajño is called Jivan Mukta. Why? Because he experiences everlasting bliss. Next verse, 429. Yasya sthita bhaved prajña.
Yasya sthita bhaved prajña.
Yasyānando nirantarah.
Yasyānando nirantarah.
Prapancho vismrtaprāyah.
Prapancho vismrtaprāyah.
Sajivan mukta ishyate.
Sajivan mukta ishyate.
Yasya sthita bhaved prajña. Yasyānando nirantarah. Prapancho vismrtaprāyah. Sajivan mukta ishyate. Yasya prajña sthita bhaved, whose wisdom has become steady. Yasya ānandah nirantarah, one who has got nirantara ānanda, unending bliss. Prapanchah, world, vismrtaprāyah, as though forgotten. Praya means prayena, mostly vismrta, forgotten. The world is mostly forgotten for such a person, for whom sahajivan mukta ishyate. He is considered as Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta, Jivaneva Mukta. Liberated while living. One more thing, Sahajivan Mukta doesn't mean that it has to be a man. Okay, now that kind of confusion should not arise at this point of time. We have seen many occasions where the clarification is given that the gender doesn't matter. The caste, creed, nationality, age, nothing matters. That's why Shankaracharya, that's why Gurudev used to explain Yaha as whoever he may be, he who. There also we are saying he, because we have to say something. It can be he, she, it, they, it can be anybody. Anybody. What is the criteria? The criteria is yasya prajña sthita bhavet. Whose mind, whose wisdom has become steady. What wisdom? The previous verse has explained. Yasya ānandah nirantarah, one who is experiencing that everlasting, unending, infinite bliss. Prapanchah vismrtaprāyah, one for whom the world is almost forgotten. Saha sthitaprajño uchyate. Sajivan mukta ishyate. That person is called as Jivan Mukta. So sthitaprajño explained. Now that everlasting bliss is also explained. Now the next thing what he has to explain, brahmaṇyeva vilīnātmā. That he explains in the next verse. Let us read. Līnavṛttairanutpattirmaryādoparatestu जाग्रद्धर्म विवर्जितः बोधो निर्वासनो यस्य सजीवन्मुक्त इष्यते लीनधीरपि जागर्ति जाग्रद्धर्म विवर्जितः बोधो निर्वासनो यस्य सजीवन्मुक्त इष्यते. Again, beautiful explanation. What is he saying? Līnadhihi api. Api, even though līnadhihi, he is a person whose dhi, mind, is līna, dissolved. Though his mind is merged, dissolved in that Brahman, jagarti, he is awake. I told you, that is why it is difficult to explain Jivan Mukta. Is there in Paramarthika Satta, but Jagarti is awake. Awake to the Vyavaharika Satta. But how? Jagrat Dharma Vivarjita. Without the characteristics of wakefulness. So he is awake, but doesn't have qualities of wakefulness. And his mind is merged in Brahman. How will you explain? So everything is put there. Līnadhihi api jagarti. Jagarti is a verb here. Sahajagarti, he is awake. Jagrat dharma vivarjitaha, but vivarjitaha, without any dharma, without any characteristics of waking. So what do you mean characteristics of waking? We say, no, when are we awake? When the mind is functioning, when the senses are functioning. All that is happening with him, and therefore we have to say he is awake. But Līnadhi, his mind is not there. Mind is merged in Brahman. Senses are doing function. Because senses are working, you have to say he is awake. But he doesn't have the characteristics of being awake. Why? Mind is not there. Mind is merged in Brahman. Therefore, Līnadhihi api jagarti, but jagrat dharma vivarjita. But he is without any characteristics of wakefulness. Bodha nirvasanaha yasya. Yasya bodha, whose knowledge, whose wisdom, whose self-knowledge, nirvasanaha is without any desire. Means what? No trace of vasanas are there. No. Done. See, it is how, what kind of perfection Shankaracharya is following is impeccable. Can't imagine. Verse number 277 onwards, when he is talking about this jnani, he was focusing more on tattvajnana. Because that's what had happened to the jnani at that time. Now after nirvikalpa samadhi etc. is achieved, the focus is not just on tattvajnana. Tattvajnana is already there. It was there from fourth state onwards. No. Now what is the focus? Nirvasanaha. How the world is not there. Even though it is there, but he is not aware of it. Nidrāluvadbālavat, svapnālokitalokavajjagadidaṃ. Like that he is explaining. Why? Because manonāsha and vasanakshaya has happened now. That is why he is called Jivan Mukta now. So anybody who says no, that Vidyaranya Swami has written Jivan Mukti Viveka on his own, everything is coming from here only. He was in the same lineage. How will he write something which is not approved by Shankaracharya? Of course it is approved by Shankaracharya. Yes, he is doing the analysis. He is writing a PhD thesis on it. Yes. So he has brought out his own concepts, and that's the purpose of research. But all the points are there in the teaching of the previous masters. So you see how he bodha nirvasanaha yasya. He is focusing on that nirvasana aspect. Why? Sajivan mukta ishyate. Then only he is called a Jivan Mukta. Otherwise he was called Tattvajnani. That's fine. How is Jivan Mukta? Why? Vasanakshaya. No more vasanas are there. So his mind is merged in Brahman. Still he is awake. Yet he is not having any characteristics of being awake. and whose knowledge is without any trace of vasanas. That person is called as Jivan Mukta. Gurudev used to beautifully say, he is in the world but not of the world. He is in the world and therefore you see him, but he doesn't belong to the world. For him, that kind of connection is not there. Okay, that person is called as Jivan Mukta. Now, from next verse onwards, Shankaracharya goes on to explain this nirvikāro aspect of Jivan Mukta, which we will see in the next session. Sufficient for today. Okay. Chalo. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.